But not all unions have gotten behind you. I want to understand, when the Teamsters decided not to endorse you, what was their reasoning? What are they looking for?
She goes, Teamsters, you better get on board.
Well, let me go back to our just previous conversation. I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the steelworkers and almost every other major union.
Excuse my French. Who does this lady think she is?
What's going on, guys? So it is another jolly day for me because we get to continually expose the radical leftist and Kamala Harris specifically. So we got Teamsters Union President Sean O'Brien. This guy is no friend of the Republicans at all, but he did do us a big favor by not endorsing Kamala Harris, which was a big deal at the time.
Democrat, I think it's for the first time in 30 years. The poll, let me just read the numbers here.
Yeah, decade.
It's 59.6% for Trump, 34% for Harris among their 1.2 million members of the Teamsters Union. So with the overwhelming Trump support, they're saying we're just not going to endorse this year. I don't know how the hell that works, but go ahead, your comment.
What I think it means, and you're right, it's confusing, is that it's a Trump victory. Then this poll comes out showing the Teamster members by about, I think it was about 60% almost, were for Trump. It tied their hands. There's no way the leadership could then say against their own members that we're with Kamala Harris after this went public. She gets all annoyed and flustered and frustrated. And it's just like when you ask her about inflation, she goes back to the same talking point. So I was raised middle class. Doesn't answer the question.
Mr. President, any reaction to the Teamsters' decision not to endorse?
No, they were. It's a great honor. They're not going to endorse the Democrats. That's a big thing. And this is the first time in, I guess, 50, 60 years that that's happened. Democrats automatically have the Teamsters. They took a vote, and I guess I was at 60% or more. And that's a great honor. I mean, it's really, I've had a lot of Teamsters work for me, a lot of the concrete trucks, and built all these buildings that you see in New York City, the Teamsters.
Now, guys, I got to point out, this guy is hella petty because for those who don't remember, I actually posted a video about this before. He got into it with Republican senator in the past where they literally were about to square up in Congress.
What do you bring for that salary?
What do I bring?
Yeah, what job have you committed, or have you started? What job have you created? One job, other than sucking the paycheck out of somebody else that you want to say that you're trying to provide because you're forcing them to pay dues? And
no, we don't force them.
Senator, you've asked the
you're
question.
Out of line,
let him
man.
answer
Actually,
the
I
question.
haven't, and don't tell me I'm out of line.
You are out of line.
Don't tell me I'm out of line.
Well, you frame,
don't tell me.
you frame the statement
like
like
shut
tough
your
guy.
mouth because you don't know
you're
what
gonna
you're
tell me to shut
about.
my mouth?
Yes, I did.
Hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it.
Yes,
Tough guy. I'm not
Senator,
afraid of physical.
Senator,
You don't have
hold
to be,
it.
but don't sit there and tell me I'm out of line.
Senator, you made a statement. You asked the question.
I didn't ask a question.
You did it.
You did.
I answered it. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big
Oh,
guy.
stop it.
Is that your
All right.
solution?
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Actively.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold
Chairman?
it. Hold it.
Now, this foolishness aside and the pettiness aside, this guy is hella petty. But that aside, I got to show you this quick clip from the Yvonne show where Brian's effectively saying that, hey, we've supported Democrats loyally, but they really haven't been doing anything for us.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm a Democrat, but they have fucked us over for the last 40 years. And for once, and not all of them, but for once, we're standing up as a union, probably the only one right now, saying, what the fuck have you done for us?
Yeah.
And I'm getting attacked from the left, and we've given, since I've been in office 2.5 years, we've given the Democratic machine $15.7 million. We've given Republicans about 340,000, truth be told. So it's like, people say the Democratic Party is the party of the working people. They're bought and paid for by big tech, those big tech companies.
Yeah, tech is the new fossil fuel, man.
Right?
That's what I say.
Right. And you've got the Republicans who are now saying, hey, we want to be the working class party, right? And okay, you've got a great opportunity right now to do that. And the Democrats, if 60% of our members aren't supporting you, The fucking system's broken, and you need to fix it. Stop pointing fingers at Sean O'Brien. Stop pointing fingers at the Teamsters Union. Look in the mirror. I mean, I had a heated discussion 2 weeks ago with Chuck Schumer, and it got fucking ugly.
Chuck Schumer is a piece of shit.
And it got ugly because, you know, these politicians, you know, the one thing I've learned, they fucking walk in and they tell you, I did this for you. Okay, great. Let me tell you what you haven't fucking done for us or our members. And we got into it pretty heavy. And I'm like, you had no problem taking $550,000 from me 3 weeks prior to me going on the Republican National Convention. And then you want to be a fucking tough guy on Twitter or X or whatever it is and throw shit out there about me? Like, whatever.
So exactly what he's referring to here, where the Democrats feel like basically you're their servant and that you owe them your support. They were doing the same thing with black men, right? They were doing the same thing with women. Like, hey, we support you, you support us, right? And then if you tell them, well, you're not really doing the things I support, they're like, well, what do you mean? You know, it's ridiculous. You would think that these people didn't have ears because they clearly had a listening problem throughout the campaign. They were always talking at people rather than talking to them. There was no real two-way communication. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and react to this conversation between Tucker Carlson and O'Brien, where they're effectively discussing Kamala Harris acting as though support from the union was owed, didn't want to answer questions, and was literally wagging her finger in one of the leaders' faces because they hadn't got on board fast enough. Without further ado, let's get into it.
I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. This is hilarious. And you know, I think you know me by now. I call balls and strikes, and I'm going to say what's on my mind regardless. So the Democrats are trying to court us to endorse Joe Biden in January, right? And Joe Biden has been a good president for us, labor. Has he done everything we wanted? No, absolutely not. Again, you get into, we fixed your pension. Great, thank you. Your first order of business, you shut down oil drilling, you shut down pipelines. I got 7,000 members that lost their jobs immediately, Keystone, right? So
you just said Joe Biden was a great president for you guys, but then immediately after you said you lost 7,000 jobs. Okay, I mean, maybe he created more jobs. I mean, how are you going to turn this around? Well, spoiler alert, I saw the clip. He doesn't.
You know, I started pointing out some of that stuff to them, which I was quiet about in the beginning. But, you know, you're out there jockeying for our support, and they want us to endorse Biden in January. All of labor did. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We've got to talk to our members. We're going to make sure where our members are at. So we go through this whole winter getting pressure from, you know, people in the Democratic Party. And we stayed the course. Nope, we're not. We want to interview the candidates, which we've never done before. And we asked every single candidate in January or December to come in and meet with us. The first person to respond was Donald Trump. I'll be in there, definitely, without a doubt.
Teflon Don, baby.
All these other candidates, RFK right away, Asa Hutchinson, Cornel West, all of them, they came right in.
This is exactly how Trump is as a leader. Rather than making these extremely overly calculated, overly political decisions, he just leads. He just goes like, hey, somebody wants to meet, let's meet. Like, what is there to think about? Like, give me a freaking break.
Same format, same questioning like we talked about earlier. And the struggle was getting Biden in here. He didn't like the fact that Trump committed early, or the Democrats didn't like that he committed early. So long story short, we go through this whole process, and we have Biden in there, and, you know, you could just clearly tell he was, you know, not the man he was. And it was kind of sad, you know, because it's sad because you look at it and I think generally, you know, a nice older man, nice older gentleman, right? And what they were doing to him, the Democratic Party, it would kind of look like elderly abuse to me.
Yes.
Ooh,
and,
facts.
You know, we knew we weren't going to go with him. And then after the first debate.
Wait, but so in your meeting with him, it was obvious that he
it was. So we give 16 questions 2 weeks in advance, the same 16 questions to each candidate. So, you know, RFK answered all 16 questions. Probably most of them didn't answer them how we would like them to answer them, but they answered them. Joe Biden came in and he answered 5 of them. Donald Trump answered all 16. And then when Biden drops out of the race, but prior to Biden dropping out of the race, he's in the race around June or May. one of my vice presidents, a woman named Joan Corey out of my local, she sits on our general executive board, was at an event with Vice President Harris. And, you know, they're going through the line to get the picture, and Joan introduces herself to Vice President Harris, says, I'm Joan Corey. I'm on the general executive board for the Teamsters. She goes, Teamsters? You better get on board. You better get on board. Better get on board soon. Says it to my vice president.
To her face?
To her face. So she comes back. We have the meeting the next day.
Damn.
And she tells me this.
I thought I was arrogant. That's really arrogant.
So she tells me this.
Can you believe the audacity here? Like, oh, yeah, you better get on board. You don't want the Biden crime family on your ass. You definitely don't want the corrupt Clintons on you. Okay? And let's not get started about the mysterious Harris family that you know nothing about. Oh, yeah, you don't want to be on our bad side, so you better pledge of allegiance immediately. Fall in line. Don't ask me for nothing. Okay? You're asking for too much, asking me any questions. Just go ahead and fall in line like the rest.
So I call
There's a reason why people call it the Democrat plantation, because these people treat you like you're a slave to their party.
Marty Walsh, he wasn't the Secretary of Labor, but, you know, he was pushing hard for us to make the endorsement. I'm like, let me ask you a question, Marty. Excuse my French. Who does this fucking lady think she is? Like, if I want to support from any organization, I am not going to point my finger in someone's face and say, you better get on board or else. But that's the attitude of this whole party.
It's the radical left.
Fast forward, she finally agrees to come after we were putting pressure on her, you know, basically, because I was doing interviews all over the place saying, we haven't got invited to the DNC. You know, they haven't accepted our invitation.
Yeah, basically, we're just not going to do it for free. You got to at least have a conversation with us. Once they realized that was the case, then they decided to at least talk with them. But as you're about to hear, the conversation didn't go so well.
Her to come to a round table, so she comes to the round table. Same format, same questions. Rank and file members are asking her questions just like they asked every other candidate. And they were trying to negotiate with us. She only wants to answer 3 questions. We're like, there's 16 questions here. So she answers 3 of them. And on the 4th question, one of her operatives or one of her staff slips a note in front of me. This will be the last question. And it was 20 minutes earlier than the time that it was going to end.
Come on.
100%. And so, you know, you're there trying to get our support. And her declaration on the way out was, I'm going to win with you or without you.
She thought that or said it out loud?
She said it out loud.
That's insane.
So
that's crazy behavior, actually.
Isn't that sick? Do you guys, I mean, of course, most of you all watching this would believe this, but just think about this. This is a Democrat. He's not a Republican, guys. The Teamsters Union did not support the Republicans, including this election. Well, the union members did, but not this guy. But he's also pointing out that the Democrats are scummy. They're backstabbing. This leadership is trash. They don't even want to answer questions, but they want you to vote for them and get the whole union to support them so that they can win. They want to win, but they don't want to do anything that it takes to win, except for lie and gaslight and try to steal the election. But in terms of actually earning the vote, you know, the thing that Kamala Harris claimed that she was going to do, she didn't even want to do it. In order to earn the vote, you at least answer some damn questions. I ain't trying to hear nothing about you not answering questions. I get tired of people asking for stuff and don't want to answer questions when you're asking for stuff. It's like when you're trying to get a bank loan. If you want the damn money, you got to answer every last question that they got. It don't matter how stupid the questions is. Otherwise, they don't have to give you anything. Don't ask for nothing. It's the same logic. Don't ask for no votes if you ain't gonna answer no questions, or it's too many questions, or you tired of it, like you done so much already. Well, maybe what you've done, you ever considered it's not what people want? You ever considered that it's not enough? Because if people ain't happy with what's being done, then there is a clear disconnect. And you can't just say, well, I've done stuff, so that should be enough. Not if the people don't want what you're selling.
If you think about it,
It was insane behavior, which at that point in time, I knew she was going to lose. Me,
Facts.
that's just my unqualified opinion. I got a gut instinct, and I'm like,
well, you turned out to be right.
Someone this arrogant, forget anything else, but you put your finger in someone's face at an Emily's List event once you find out they're with the Teamsters, and you say, you better get on board or else. That's a problem. And then you come before us, you don't answer the question, you want to dictate what you're going to answer, and then you leave 20 minutes before it's over. And the one difference between all the candidates that came was that at the conclusion of all these roundtables, we had media set up. So after conclusion of meeting with Trump, I did a press conference down in the lobby of my building. Well, Donald Trump did a press conference down in the lobby of my building after he spoke. The same offer was extended to both President Biden and Vice President Harris, and they refused. So you're meeting with the biggest labor organization that you want, and you've got an opportunity for media to question you about how you felt the meeting went and what you wanted to achieve, and you don't want to speak to the media?
Well, there's a clear reason for this. It's because they know that the meeting didn't go good. If things were going great, and if Kamala Harris herself felt confident, if her staffers felt confident, they would have been answering every question. They'd have been going everywhere, every network, every podcast, doing every press conference. They would have had as many debates as they wanted to have from the beginning, not after the one Harris debate. They would have said from the beginning that they'll have as many debates as proposed, which they never agreed to originally. When you're not confident, this is how you act. It's called being a bitch. Like this, and it has nothing to do with being a woman. This is what people would call Trump if he didn't want to do anything and he looked scared. They would call him a bitch. It would be like he's a pussy. He's afraid. This is what Kamala Harris was. She was afraid. She was acting like a little P word. Like she's so afraid of looking stupid. Her staffers were so afraid. And then turn around and try to say, oh, this was like the greatest campaign ever. I've never seen a campaign run so amazingly. These people are mentally ill. They're stupid.
That's a problem. But Trump, to his credit, in our building, in our foyer, had a press conference.
So you're describing the way like a rich person would talk to the housekeeper, like, how dare you question me?
Right.
You work for me.
Right. They don't realize that, and I've said this numerous times, when I'm talking to a member, whoever that member may be, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, I know that they give me the opportunity to represent them and they employ me.
Yeah.
Right? And I've said this many times. The Democrats got to understand who they work for. They work for the constituency that they represent in their communities.
Exactly.
And that's where they've lost sight of who their employer is. They think that the constituency should serve them.
Exactly.
And it's disgraceful. And, you know, what we've been saying for a year, now everybody's embracing, saying, well, the Democratic Party needs a reset. Well, where were you 9 months ago? Where were you 2 years ago?
They had a warning. If
you were really, you know, passionate about putting up a candidate that could actually represent Democrats like they did, or represent the party, why weren't you developing a plan 2.5 years ago? Because you thought you just had in the bag, you thought people were going to do what you tell them to do. Well, clearly that didn't work. So what's the future? And they don't have an answer.
Well, we already know what that's going to be. It's going to be continued lying and gaslighting and a bunch of BS. Guys, I can't believe that people actually put her up like that. They thought she could even win. I can't believe that they even tried this. I feel so disrespected by this. This is why you don't let people skip the line with leadership in terms of like these big positions. You don't get bigger than the president of the United States. You can't just DEI your way into this, because this is who you wind up with. You wind up with people who don't want to answer questions. People like, you work for them. This is not what a leader is, guys. Honestly, guys, I don't think Kamala Harris has a leadership capability to freaking walk her dog. But these are just my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black Anomaly Rising channel. I'm out.
The Democrats got to understand who they work for. They think that the constituency should serve them.